Good evening. The disgraced former Bishop of Lewes, Peter Ball, has been jailed for 32 months at the Old Bailey today for grooming and abusing 18 young men under the guise of Christian instruction over a 15-year period. Now 83 and in poor health, Ball was told he would serve half that term before being released on licence.
Peter Ball had pleaded guilty to misconduct in public office and to 2 counts of indecent assault. The court heard that he'd escaped justice in 1993 when 7 young men accused him of sex offences after he received support from cabinet ministers, the royal family, members of parliament, magistrates and a lord. Sarah Smith has our report.
At last, after 20 years. "I'll always be very, very sorry," said Peter Ball as he entered the Old Bailey. But for his victims such as Cliff James, beaten and abused when as a trainee monk he stayed at Ball's Sussex home, it's what happened in the court which mattered.
It feels like real resolution now. It feels such relief, it really does. Not just for me, but finding out about so many other people, and that I didn't know about, and for them too, it's like it feels over.
For 15 years, Peter Ball abused those keen to enter the church who came to him as a bishop for guidance. The judge told him, "You chose to pervert their religious feelings and needs to your own base ends. It was a gross abuse of the imbalance of powers and authority between you and them." One young man, Neil Todd, did go to the police in the early 90s and several others bravely followed his example. But Ball got away with a caution. The investigating force, Gloucestershire Police, had been inundated with messages of support for the bishop, including from cabinet members and royalty. Prince Charles would later find him a cottage to live in. Neil Todd would commit suicide. 3 years ago, Sussex Police opened a new investigation.
Getting a conviction was incredibly important to us, so that the multiple victims in this case have ultimately been believed for the abuse that they suffered at this highly manipulative man who has groomed people over a period of 15 years within Sussex.
Another victim, Graham Sawyer, said he was put under terrible pressure.
Since the Church of England knew that I was a principal witness in it, and they've sought in every way to discredit and destroy me, and that's been a very tough battle.
The church has now announced a review and said sorry to its bishop's victims as he, at 83, heads to prison.
Now, in reaction to the sentencing, the Church of England expressed its abhorrence and deep regret at Peter Ball's behaviour. Apologising to his victims, the C of E says it's doing all it can to ensure that churches are safe for all.
But, as our special correspondent Colin Campbell reports, there are fears that the fact a former bishop has been jailed will shake people's trust in the organisation in Sussex.
His offending was sadistic.
Bishop Peter Ball is a monster.
Abuse was both sexual, mental, physical.
Bishop Peter Ball's victims have revealed the full horror of his crimes, but what damage has he done to the church?
The very fact that this is a bishop, I am sure, will have an impact on members of every congregation in the Sussex area.
This was the reaction from parishioners in Sussex today.
It's very damaging, but it's a long line of things that have been done in the church, that have come to light recently.
Hopefully just one individual won't tar the rest of the church community.
I think if you're a Christian and you believe, you're going to keep that belief, because it's people who let down, not Jesus.
The Church of England reacted today, describing Peter Ball's jailing as a matter of deep shame and regret, adding that it always takes allegations of abuse very seriously and has robust procedures and policies in place. The church hope an independent inquiry into Ball's case will provide answers.
The reason for holding a review is to determine whether or not there was a cover-up. We hear that concern, and that's why we want to get people in to look and say, was it cover-up? Was it mismanaged?
Ball was allowed to continue to work as a priest even after admitting he had abused in 1993, but some believe the church is now a safer place.
A number of churches need to restore confidence. I think the Diocese of Chichester, where the Bishop of Lewes crimes largely took place, woke up to this some years ago. The new Bishop of Chichester has instituted widespread reform. He's brought in experts on child protection.
It's a strange thing to set up your own order. Why didn't you join an existing order?
Like Jimmy Savile, Ball was an abuser hiding in plain sight. Tragically, the inaction surrounding his case has only served to compound victims' anguish.
Well, our special correspondent Colin Campbell is in the studio with us now. Colin, a senior bishop has been jailed. Trust in the church has been shaken. An independent inquiry announced. Can the church overcome this situation?
Rob, Bishop Peter Ball is the highest-ranking member of the Church of England to be jailed for sexual abuse. So this case has, of course, rocked the church. How quickly they can recover is really going to be dependent on this independent inquiry which has been set up by the Archbishop of Canterbury. No indication at the moment as who's going to head that or how long it's going to take, but it's going to have some pretty crucial questions that it's going to have to answer to try to restore confidence. Top of that list is, why was Bishop Peter Ball allowed to remain in position preaching as a priest for so long after admitting to sexual abuse? This inquiry is going to have to find out if there was any cover-up as suspected by Bishop Peter Ball's victims and others. But it's also going to have to examine very closely the role played by senior clergy at the time, including the role played by the then Archbishop of Canterbury, George Carey.
OK, Colin, thank you very much.